All right, good evening, everybody. If I haven't, no, I already said it, but I'll say it again anyways. Never forget. Um, Hold that thought. I'm going to be right back. I need to go for a walk and collect my thoughts. So you get to stare at my coffee cup. Don't like it? Tough shit. All right, I'm back. Move the coffee cup here. I'm just going to sell you fun. YouTube. There we have it. Let me go back here. All right. So obviously, there's a lot of outrage over one, Charlie Kirk assassination, and why that one is overshadowing some of the other shit that happened. So that's going to be the first part of it. But we've seen things overshadow other things before. Like, let me give you an example. In my lifetime, I was working, this is going back over 20 years ago. Let that shit sink in, right? Well, 20 years ago, I was working at a, I guess now defunct gas station company. And, I overslept at work. Well, I was also sick of the fucking job, but I digress. So, obviously, it was September 11th, 2001. My boss calls me, and he says, "Are you aware of what's going on in our country?" Turn on the news. Next thing you know, see the Twin Towers in flames. So that's like definitely, what the fuck. So anyhow, that's that. I go to work. We're talking about blah, blah, blah. So we'll leave that one alone. But guess what happened before that? Just right before that you really didn't hear much about. I didn't even hear about it until some years later, when I was watching a Power Rangers episode. The actress Dui Trang was killed in an accident. In fact, let me actually type in when she actually did die. All right, just bear with me. Dang. All right, so you've seen Charlie Kirk stuff. All right. And yes, no, I don't want to see more about the fucking. Okay, yep. September 3rd, 2001 was when she died. Yep, so she's also part of the 27 Club. But nobody ever heard of it. But that was not really discussed. You didn't see that anywhere on any. Yep, more Charlie Kirk stuff and more people, celebrating. Not surprising. And no, I'm not going to read this shit. I'm going to try to stay on topic this time. Counselors on death. Yeah, really. All right, let's stick to the topic. Now, fast forward, about a decade later, 8 years later, 2009, Farrah Fawcett passes away, from a cancer battle. That, of course, is broadcasted, all over different outlets. But then 4 hours later, Michael Jackson passes away. And that fucking overshadows Farrah Fawcett's death. So there's always going to be shit that overshadows other shit. And it really shouldn't be that way. Now, in all fairness, 2001, there wasn't as, not everybody really had access to, all the digital stuff. You just turned on the TV and just saw what was there. But, 2008, people really started to use computers. Of course, now everybody uses their phones. What's going to be like in the future? But anyhow, let's get back on track here. So there's always something that overshadows something else. Now, 2020, that was just the year the earth stood still. And everything was just trying to overshadow everything. And, fast forward to now, and sure enough, what's everywhere is the Charlie Kirk assassination. And snippets of some of the other stuff. The school shooting, the Minnesota shooting. I haven't heard any more about. In fact, I really didn't hear a whole lot about the transgender shooter. Up and down Minnesota, or the I guess the Democratic senator that was also assassinated. Well, again, I'm guessing whoever's in office almost kind of dictates, how the media presents things, and that makes it a challenge for the rest of us to figure out which is a good news source and which is not, So everything, is biased nowadays, and flip flops. And of course, let me share this little snippet of this. This is from the Colorado school shooting 2 hours ago. All right, so let me share that screen.
Some of the information that we're seeing about this suspect is that he was radicalized by some extremist network. Sorry, I wanted to get those right. Some extremist network. And the details of that will be down the road. There's obviously a lot of work that has to go into looking at his phone, looking at his social media pages, comments, searching his room, searching his backpack. There's just searching his locker. There's a lot of places to look right. That we hope will just give us better information as to what he was attempting to do, and maybe the why. Sometimes we never find out why. And lives were saved yesterday because of the actions they took during their lockdown drill. We know that the suspect had a handgun. He had to keep reloading. He would fire and reload, fire and reload, fire and reload. This went on and on. And as he did that, he tried to find new targets. And he came up against a roadblock on many of those doors. He couldn't get to those kids. So there's not enough to be said for the work that the teachers, the coaches, the staff, the students, lots of kids ran. But the ones who didn't were locked down and they were being cared for. Evergreen High School used to have a full-time SRO. That SRO is on medical leave right now. So it's a shared duty. Horrible timing, of course, but shared duty. So we have a couple of part-time SROs that share this school right now. There was no one from the SRO unit at the school when the shooting started. He was there until about 10:30, 10:45, and then he was dispatched out here for an accident pretty close by. We can't say yet whether this feels more targeted or more random, but based on what I'm telling you about firing and reloading and firing and reloading, it seems like it could be a bit of both. Suspect's gun was fired a lot. The reason we have so many crime scene areas inside is because we have windows shot out. We have lockers that were shot up. We're finding spent rounds, unspent rounds. So it's a huge area. And the school, I was told, is 3 levels. So lots of work to be done, but he fired multiple times. There are cameras inside of the school, which is very powerful and important for us in our investigations. We're able to track his movement throughout the school.
All right, so that's that one. Let's see.
Why wouldn't you work with me on that?
Why won't I work with you on that 97%?
Yes.
Because I think there are.
Greg, come here.
What?
Greg, hold on for a second.
Oh, it's 5.7%?
Charlie Kirk was just shot on a college campus in Utah. Did you see what I just saw?
Yeah, it's on the street.
Is it bad?
I don't know. But
Fuck. Okay. Charlie Kirk was just shot at his campus in Utah. Why are you laughing? He is my friend.
I don't agree with anything. I don't think it's right to shoot him.
Your first reaction is to Charlie Kirk is a dick, and you're smiling, and you laugh that my friend just got shot. You had the audacity to laugh? If you think shooting Charlie Kirk is justified because you disagree with his political opinions, you need to study your heart. Because this is what abortion culture has done in our country. Our abortion culture has told people, our abortion culture has said that the most vulnerable humans in our world don't deserve the right to live, and we get to choose whether or not they live or die. Abortion culture has led to a desensitizing of our nation.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to agree with her on that one. I'm familiar with her work as well as many other pro-lifers. Let's continue.
Where we think we can shoot political enemies, and we think it's justified. Do you guys think it's justified or a good thing that Trump got shot? Did you guys laugh? You think it was good when Trump got shot?
I think they're just fucking doing it just to watch her react.
Do you want to have your question about abortion? Because I don't have much hope for this crowd, but we can talk. Can someone tell me how he is? Charlie was shot in the neck, by the way. And you're laughing and clapping for it. The callousness of what you guys just showed today, that I will show the world on YouTube today, that students at the University of Montana laughed that Charlie Kirk got shot.
Okay, listen, I respect.
You will change. You all, as how awful you have been to me, will change more minds than anything I will say. Because showing your callousness to another fellow member of our human species and laughing that a father of two and a friend was just shot, laughing in my face that my friend might be dead right now, will show people in our world what abortion culture has produced, which is a generation of people who feel that human beings don't matter. You will change more minds. What you all did, you're laughing. So today when we were setting up, someone said, fuck those babies, kill them all. That's what, and you laughed again. That's what abortion culture leads to.
Like, I get it. Like,
oh, no, it's free speech.
I'm pretty sure there's poisoning in places that don't allow abortions. But let's continue.
Sir, you can say whatever dehumanizing thing you want, for sure. But it's evil, and it's evilness. I'm going to stop and pray for a second for my friend. Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle.
Yeah, what if we said that one joke? What's 34 and a half? 69 millions. Yeah.
Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the other evil spirits who prowl around the world seeking the ruin of souls. Dear Lord, I want you to surround Charlie right now. And I want you to surround Erica and his 2 children. Lord, be with Charlie. Keep him alive. Be with him now. And Lord, speak into the hearts of these hardened children who do not know what they say, do not understand the genocide they speak. Amen.
Wasn't there a Blair White video I was going to watch? If I can't see it in this algorithm, there we go, right there. Now, obviously, we all know.
Oh my God.
All right, before I get into that, we all know she's a transgender vlogger. But she's one of the few that, has a functioning brain that can use a little logic. Barring the mental disorder, she at least can function and actually have a debate and talk and not fucking get all like, I'm a real, So I can respect her channel. And she spent real money on it. So that's the other point. She spent real money to pass. And regardless of what side.
This video sucks. This video sucks. My heart is so broken for Charlie Kirk's family, his wife and his 2 babies. This is hitting me so hard, and I didn't know him personally. And yet, being in this ecosystem of politics on the internet, I would hope even people that do politics on the other side think that this moment sucks. Like I said, I didn't know him personally, but many of my friends did. And so I'm mourning my friends, mourning so much, and just what it means for the country that this is something that's now normalized is an understatement. People are celebrating it. I assume that some things are unspoken, and I'm shown all the time that they're not. I assume that certain values and certain morals are relatively consistent among most, if not all, people, and I am constantly shown that I'm wrong, and I live way too optimistically because the tragedy of Charlie Kirk's death, to me, I think the reason why it's hitting so hard is it's being compounded by the reaction by people. And I really use the word people lightly because I don't know if you are a person. If you can say or post some of the things that have been said about this man's brutal murder, this has been not only so horrible and traumatizing to see the video of what happened, and I wish I had never seen the video. I wish I had never seen the video. And then I guess it just feels like a whole other trauma to see the psychopathy that I am surrounded by, that we are all surrounded by, that there is such an extreme amount of people in the world that are legitimate psychopaths, that are legitimately terrible, low IQ, disgusting human beings. And even as I'm saying this, it feels so terrible for me to even have what feels like hate in my heart for these people. But seeing that he's being mocked in his death, seeing the amount of people celebrating it, seeing people show up to his vigil last night.
Oh, here's another one.
I will give you credit. Your willingness to have this dialogue is something that deserves to be commended.
Thank you.
Despite our very different views on a lot of different things.
But that's how things change, my friend. So I really appreciate you bringing me on. It means a lot to me that you're willing to have the conversation. Yeah. Okay, this is a hard one.
We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
I'd like to say welcome back, but I'm actually pretty bummed about all of this. I feel like we got a big problem on our hands in this country. I think the violence and the insanity has reached such a level that I think we're all just becoming numb to it on some level. So I really wanted to do this about Charlie Kirk because, you know, I had the pleasure of actually debating Charlie, which on some level it kind of really wasn't a debate because we agreed on a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, he's not really okay with my career of the past, which is, again, you guys know how I feel about all that. I'm cool with all of that. It's why our debate was so great because, you know, I just want to let you know that like it happened 3 years ago, and I'll never forget getting an email from them and TPUSA, and I wasn't really familiar with Charlie Kirk, and then I did a little like research, and I thought, wow, that's so amazing that he wants to bring me on and actually have conversation about the transgenderism movement and, you know, everything that I oppose in that movement. And he was really willing to sort of try to learn about certain kinds of things. And I just thought it was so amazing. And so I accepted the invitation, and the TPUSA treated me like a rock star, and they were just so amazing. And I did this great debate, which I'm just going to show you a couple little clips from it, and I'll put the link if you want to watch it. But it ended up blowing up and becoming huge for TPUSA. And also they invited me back a couple, 3, 4 more times. And I remember like I became friends with Charlie. We clearly were not like always in contact or whatever, but we walked away like super chill and awesome with each other and shaking hands and just sort of like laughing and being cool. And then periodically I would send a little message or something, and he would just acknowledge me, and in such a profoundly awesome way, because everyone thinks he's transphobic because he doesn't believe kids should transition, which is, you know, I don't. But, you know, the thing that was so cool about Charlie was he was always willing to have the conversation, but people didn't see that. They just didn't like, again, that's what's wrong here today is a group of people, I would say, let's call them the woke left. They don't want to have conversation. Okay. They don't want to. They want you to believe what they're telling you. Bottom line, no other way.
Same can also be said for the extreme right, but I digress. You know, I honestly didn't want to do all these videos on this topic, but, you know, it just seems like this is not going away. And, you know, things like this are exactly why people just need to fucking talk about shit that they just want to avoid, you know, whatever it may be. Like, case in point, you know, the whole health insurance issue, you know, no, I'm not advocating for any more of that shit. But, you know, that's definitely stuff that needs to be brought to the table. Much like this, you know, you have, you know, the hard right just thinks, you know, everybody should just be, you know, given a gun, you know, like the Wild West, although historically the Wild West wasn't as wild as they thought. But anyhow, moving forward, you know, it's like, you know, getting a gun, you know, shouldn't be like getting a carton of milk. I mean, I support the Second Amendment. I'm just going to make that clear. But it shouldn't be like getting a carton of milk. I mean, you have to register to vote, which is, you know, a whole nother right. You have to be a certain age, you know, to vote, 18. Duh. So you get my point. And okay, it's back and doing that was before getting forced on kids. We'll leave that one alone. So hang on a sec.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this.
So there we have it. And this is going to bring me to my second point. I'm just going to take a pause, and I'll be right back. Either you're going to watch this or you're not, because my channel sucks. Hang on. Shit. Let me go back to that. All right, let me actually go back to the Buck Angel one. That one was actually really good.
I will give you credit. Your willingness to have this dialogue is something that deserves to be commended.
Thank you.
Our very different views on a lot of different things.
But that's how things change, my friend. So I really appreciate you bringing me on. It means a lot to me that you're willing to have the conversation.
Okay, this is a hard one. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
I'd like to say welcome back, but I'm actually pretty bummed about all of this. I feel like we got a big problem on our hands in this country. I think the violence and the insanity has reached such a level that I think we're all just becoming numb to it on some level. So I really wanted to do this about Charlie Kirk because, I had the pleasure of actually debating Charlie, which on some level, it kind of really wasn't a debate because we agreed on a lot of stuff. I mean, he's not really okay with my career of the past, which is, again, you guys know how I feel about all that. I'm cool with all of that. It's why our debate was so great because, I just want to let you know that it happened 3 years ago, and I'll never forget getting an email from them and TPUSA, and I wasn't really familiar with Charlie Kirk, and then I did a little research, and I thought, wow, that's so amazing that he wants to bring me on and actually have conversation about the transgenderism movement and everything that I oppose in that movement. And he was really willing to sort of try to learn about certain kinds of things. And I just thought it was so amazing. And so I accepted the invitation, and the TPUSA treated me like a rock star, and they were just so amazing. And I did this great debate, which I'm just going to show you a couple little clips from it, and I'll put the link if you want to watch it. But it ended up blowing up and becoming huge for TPUSA. And also they invited me back a couple, 3, 4 more times. And I remember I became friends with Charlie. We clearly were not always in contact or whatever, but we walked away super chill and awesome with each other and shaking hands and just sort of laughing and being cool. And then periodically I would send a little message or something, and he would just acknowledge me, and in such a profoundly awesome way, because everyone thinks he's transphobic because he doesn't believe kids should transition, which is, I don't. But, the thing that was so cool about Charlie was he was always willing to have the conversation. But people didn't see that. They just didn't again, that's what's wrong here today is a group of people, I would say, let's call them the woke left. They don't want to have conversation, okay? They don't want to. They want you to believe what they're telling you. Bottom line, no other way. Charlie had his beliefs. Didn't mean that he wasn't willing to have maybe possibly be able to change his mind or not. I think I walked away from that debate with Charlie Kirk where he thought about it a little bit more profoundly, and in some ways had no problem with me as an adult living my life happy, not bothering anybody else, and not shoving it down anybody's throat. And that was really what I think I helped Charlie come to some understanding about there are people like me out there. And he was so gracious to bring me on that show. I feel very, it wasn't like I was best friends with the guy or any of that, or we hung out. I just feel very sad about it all for many reasons. But, he lost his life over a belief system. And how is that even a thing that anybody, and, people are sort of, some weirdos are cheering it on and acting like it's okay. And what is wrong with people? What has happened to our country, and what has happened to having different opinions? So before I get too emotional here, I do appreciate you all a lot. And I do appreciate you listening to what I have to say here and really understanding that we have now lost somebody who was making a difference in this country and was helping to bring back a form of conversation, whether you like it or not, and really having the sort of spirit to go on these campuses. He cared about these young people. He cared that they understood where they were and how important this country is, and our Constitution and our Bill of Rights and the freedom of speech. And kids don't even know what that is anymore. They're just being taught everything is fascist, everything is a genocide, everything. They're just being brainwashed into thinking this one way. So I feel like I'm rambling because I'm just so sad and horrified by this whole thing. So I want to show you a little bit more of, first I'm going to show you a little bit of the couple of pieces of the clip of Charlie and me real quick here.
Welcome, Charlie Kirk and Buck Angel. Thank you for coming. Tonight's topic is going to be transgenderism in America. You guys each have a few minutes to give your opening statements. I'll start with Charlie.
Okay. First, thanks for joining. I'm not going to take the entire time. I think it's pretty simple, my viewpoint. I think there's only two genders, and I have sympathy for people that suffer from gender dysphoria and compassion, and I think we'll explore that together. Transgenderism, if you will, presupposes that there are two genders, and I look forward to learning your perspective on all of that. But it's a serious problem, and I think based on things you've said, we'll actually have some common ground on children and education and the entire kind of detransitioning movement that's happening right now, because a lot of people have regret after undergoing that irreversible surgery. But yeah, my position's pretty clear. Your chromosomal makeup is very important. I believe we should be grounded in biological and material reality. And I believe that gender and sex are directly related. And so I know I have more time to use, but I'm going to allow our guests to use that time up.
Right on. First off, thanks for having me. I really appreciate debates, and I really appreciate these conversations because they will help us move forward. So I'm pretty much on board with a lot what you said there. I do believe in sex. I believe in biological sex. So I just more wanted you to see. First off, it's kind of funny because I look this tiny next to him. He's super tall, and but you see how gracious, even from the beginning, he didn't try to make me feel uncomfortable or any of that, and he does have feelings and feels for people. People don't seem to want to hear that part of it. He did. He said that, he has an understanding that people suffer from this, and he wants to learn more about it. And that's where this whole trans ideological, angry, weird space doesn't want to do this. They wouldn't, if they invited some other, I'm not a trans activist, but if they invited a trans activist on, they wouldn't have accepted. You and I both know that. They never would have accepted or had the conversation that I was willing to have with Charlie here. So I just really value that time that I got to get on that show, because even if you have a chance to see the comments, you're going to see people were, thank you, Buck, and thank you, Charlie, for having this conversation. And this was 3 years ago, everybody, 3 years ago. I just can't even believe it. And at least, people were willing to listen. And then I changed the minds of some people, and they do understand it's a mental disorder. And we did come to some nuanced space. Not around my work in adult, and I was not expecting that, nor do I expect anybody, and that is perfectly okay. That's way over here. But I was really more focused on the kids, on education, on conversation, on understanding that gender dysphoria does exist. And so I want to also bring back up this video today from the news, and this part was pretty profound, and I think it really says a lot. So let me bring this up again.
It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken.
All right, I'm back. All right, so we've seen enough of that one. Let me just see who's commenting on shit. I'm sure we're going to get fucking... That's from somebody else. So let's see what... Oh yeah, because I commented on those two, I'm probably going to get blown up with notifications. Probably no subscribers, but notifications. So let's move on. Let me go and see what somebody else has to say. Yeah, definitely got very bizarre, and they still haven't made a well. Besides the first two, they still haven't found a suspect. The first two they found, investigated, questioned, blah blah blah, no connection. They're released. But let me just see what this.
All right, Fox News seems to have no plan to tone down their rhetoric. I want to show you all a few clips that perfectly illustrate the problem we now find ourselves in. 24 hours ago, conservative commentator Charlie Kirk was killed at Utah Valley University. The FBI's manhunt has been wide-reaching, but they've only turned up, a few results. We have photos of the suspected shooter, but they haven't found him or traced him down at the time I recorded this video.
Yeah, the grainy pictures. So, which brings me to a point. I mean, it's 2025. Cameras have gotten way better than they were many, many years ago. I mean, and I can recant the story when I worked for Stop and Shop Graveyard Shift. Where they took you on the tour, initially loss prevention, and the whole camera room they had set up. And those cameras were so good back then in 1997 that you could zoom in on the very same gas station where I worked at and count the change of that clerk hands back to a customer. But moving forward, so let's just see. Kirk was safe while a Democrat. Okay, so there is some correlation, but correlation does not equal causation. Okay, that person, when Kamala Harris is president, Kirk doesn't, not a coherence. Well, no shit. Maybe, coherence or forgotten concept that could be true, but that might be somebody from another country, And this person saying Trump had him killed. Wouldn't stop talking about Israel and Epstein. So, and that could be a whole nother topic in of itself. Was it an inside job? Because clearly, whoever pulled that fucking trigger knew what the fuck they were doing. You know, like I said in my, my previous videos, this basically made the killing of Brian Thompson by allegedly Luigi Mangione look like a fucking joke. It looked like a fucking joke. I mean, the shooter had to do some workarounds. To his credit, he was able to. To the shooter's credit, Luigi Mangione is the main suspect. So we'll just go neutral, say to the shooter's credit, the shooter was able to do the workaround and unjam the gun, and fire a couple more rounds, and then that was that, and then just go poof. Anyhow, so let's get into this one. Yeah, they're criticizing Fox News, da da da. Everybody's going to criticize every fucking news site. Yeah, I mean, they did find a gun. And according to most of the commentators, this is obviously, another Epstein, distraction. Which very well could be true. And, in fact, the Epstein files could be a whole other distraction from something else. So let me see.
The search for the shooter is ongoing. And despite the incredible incompetence of the FBI, headed by Kash Patel, who announced they had the shooter in custody and then sheepishly announced less than an hour later that they had released the person who was not the shooter, they have found a piece of evidence, we assume. An older model Mauser 3006 caliber high-powered bolt-action rifle was recovered in a wooded area just off the college campus where Charlie Kirk was shot, according to 3 federal law enforcement officials based on preliminary internal assessment. Several cartridges, including a spent round in the rifle's chamber, were recovered. The weapon and ammunition are being traced by ATF analysts in West Virginia, but the evidence has not yet led to a person of interest. Almost immediately, the Wall Street Journal went with this slop. In the Wall Street Journal live thread, investigators found ammunition engraved with expressions of transgender and anti-fascist ideology inside the rifle that authorities believe was used in the fatal shooting of Charlie.
Wait, what the fuck? All with wording on them. I'm gonna fucking type in. Let me go to this one. Okay, so here's one. So let me actually share that with you. Instead, just bear with me. So I'm sharing, share. Now, obviously, they're probably not going to be shedding too many tears. So this is what they have to say. Civil Rights Act was a huge mistake. Where did he actually say that? That's what I'd like to know is, where did he actually say that? And again, that's not going to make the assassination attempt, it's not going to make me, change my opinion on the whole, assassination. I just want to know where he actually, said this stuff. Now, I know he did say, affirmative action, led to DEI, which, in his opinion was, DEI leads to unqualified people, getting positions they shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. I did see the one clip where he said, if the pilot's a black guy, I hope that he's qualified. So that could be that, borderline, racism, that people discuss. So there is some element of truth to that. American Jews encourage anti-white, mentioned physically attack trans. I'd like to see somebody show where he actually said that. That's what I'd like to see. Okay, so So they're saying, yeah, anti-LGBT. I can't picture him being super anti, but whatever. I'm just gonna give you that. So yeah, the one point this is making that it could easily be directed to another political figure. Well, Charlie Kirk was not a real political figure. He had no political office. He was just somebody that, you know, expressed his views, whatever they may be. You know, whether they were bigoted or transphobic or whatever. You know, because there's this thing called, you know, the First Amendment. You know, that we have, and the Second Amendment, you know, said that you know, Second Amendment is they say is protection for the others. Okay, yes, the Hyundai raid. Let's see what Washington Post has to say. He's asking Charlie Kirk, and that's exactly what happened. Punish critics after. Yeah, why am I not surprised about that? So let me just fucking go back to this window here. Oh yeah, exactly. You know, and the problem with the left is that they're saying, you know, how many Jews mourn for Hitler? Hitler was. There's a huge difference between Charlie Kirk and Hitler. Hitler was in a position of power to do shit, like really bad shit. You know, Charlie Kirk is obviously, you could say he's an influencer, just like everybody else is an influencer, just like the other two, you know, two videos. They're technically influencers in every other fucking snippet. You know, my channel sucks, so I'm no influencer. I'm just somebody with 50 subscribers. Thank you, by the way. I always appreciate likes and subscribes. So I'm just going to say that. You know, I like I said before, I'd rather people like and subscribe because they actually like the content and not based on what I look like or the fact that I'm saying like and subscribe. So anyhow, let's go forward. So let me just there we go. So that's that. Yes, I smoke. Okay, so investigators track. Let's see what this one has to say. Unmute it. Where the fuck is the unmute?
At 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. He had tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building.
Like every American achievement,
great, a fucking ad.
Trucks are the result of dedication. Over 100 years dedicated to the art of engineering. We are professional grade.
And fled off of the campus into a neighborhood. Our investigators worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody we can with.
All right, so obviously he fled on foot, much like Mangione did.
And thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We're working through some technologies and some.
Why? Why aren't it just posted? Maybe somebody might just fucking recognize the guy.
Some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident.
Yep, this is going to be another thing where they have a couple of images, grainy, and eventually they're going to put out money, and we all know money talks. And that's obviously, what it takes. Money talks. Eventually, they're going to put out enough money where somebody's going to talk. Now, what's probably going to happen, much like with, the McDonald's worker that, called in, said, yeah, we think we found the shooter. The call's probably not going to get shit. Probably because they didn't do it the right way. And obviously, like I said before, I suspect, the McDonald's worker, or former McDonald's worker, I should say, may have a case against McDonald's itself, and they get paid that way. And I suspect that person's under witness protection for obvious reasons.
Colleen leaving the classroom. She's walking down the corridor. She's going to the ladies' toilets. That's on the second floor.
Hi, Mom. If it wasn't for you and your study habits, I wouldn't be here today.
Immediately after, you see Chisholm. And at this point, he follows Colleen into the school toilets. It's also worth noting that whilst he does that,
Killed by a
he puts on
14-year-old.
his
Lovely.
white gloves. He pulls his hood.
All right, let me just go back to this window here. Yeah, so this is just, and that's the funny thing, right? So this gentleman, let's see here, 46. That's a big ass fucking school. Watching from a balcony, and I guess because of Utah law, someone with an LTC can carry. That could raise a whole other topic in of itself, but clearly, having an LTC is not going to stop a professional, and that's what this one was. This was not approaching somebody at point blank, essentially point blank range. In broad fucking daylight with people walking around. A professional is a professional. And that's clearly what this was. This was not, some disgruntled individual who couldn't use a firearm, much like the ones that tried to take out Trump permit on campus under a new state law. He has grown. All right, we'll leave that one alone. All right, so I'm going to get out of that one. I'm going to go back to Sully Fun. I'm going to exit out of that. Charlie Kirk update. Let's see what that says. See if there was a politician. Well, of course, they are. I mean, that's the thing with other politicians is, no matter what side of the fence, they're all condemning, the act. It's the fucking extreme people, on the left that are obviously the ones celebrating like that. Just trying to see 1 day ago. 17 hours ago, 1 day ago. I'm just trying to look for more current shit. But they're not really showing much, current shit. Let me just go to fucking. Let me just go to USA Today. I'm not sure if that's biased or not. 8:48 p.m. All right, so that's pretty recent. No, I don't want to fucking subscribe. The suspect was not. So they received the high-power rifle and new details about a suspect. Let me open that in a new tab. Okay, there's no motive or ideology. He has an indication. Well, we all know what Trump's indication is. That's probably somebody on the left. Just like what they would do a mass shooting, which is a whole other topic in of itself. Even Parker got a job. His channel was like, even his little shorty, he said he thought it was a mass shooting. And it's kind of fucked up that you have to fucking, brace yourself. Oh, it's another mass shooting. Like it's almost like we become, desensitized, to that. And now my computer froze. Fabulous. Let me close this one. All right. So, today you can see the time. Visual timeline. So, yep. 200 fucking yards away. So, why aren't there more cameras? Like, and yeah, I'm going to block that because, okay, but like Utah. Evidence tags. Let's see here. 150. Yeah, I heard 200. But either way, so this is what they're saying. I mean, that's still a good distance. So either way, they knew what they were fucking doing. So they have a person of interest. Let's see what this one says. Warning foreign nationals. I know, as opposed to the fucking left people who are doing the same fucking thing. Shouldn't happen here. Well, keep in mind, it is a gun-free zone, like all campuses are. Well, that may have changed due to the Utah state law. All right, so that's really all we know. Oh, goes to the sweetheart candy. All right, so let me go back to this. Let me oh, fucking sideways. Let me see this window. All right, have this guy who I assume is a leftist. What was he saying about racism? It was about guns. Okay. It says I have to come every time. Let's just see where he actually said that. You know. Damn. The fucking reactions. Like, see, this is my point. Some of the shit they're fucking saying, it makes them just as bad as the fucking far right that they're against.
this a little more to show you guys exactly what I was so frustrated about in my last video with these loving, accepting leftists, their behavior that's so disgusting. Now, I'm going to link both of these original videos in the description below, of course, so check them out. They're both from Instagram. And before we get into this, please take a second to like the video. I know everybody says that. It's cliche, but I mean it. These videos are controversial. My last video lost tons of subscribers and got tons of thumbs down, but thankfully, a lot of you did support me and give a thumbs up as well to offset it. And I got some new subscribers, which is good. But yeah, I need you guys' help. Drop in a thumbs up because it offsets the thumbs down. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's get into this disgusting, disgusting display of behavior from these loving, caring, accepting leftists. Right off the bat, the hill they're willing to die on, the pro-life abortion. You trashy, gross women are just so mad that someone's going to question that disgusting, disgusting thing you love to do so much. But look at this girl. I mean, come on, look at that. With a body like that, with flabby arms like that, I don't think she needs to worry too much about reproducing. Not many men are going to be interested in that. Blech. Carry on. Look at them watching it, laughing. They're snickering. They're snickering. Look at that girl reaching. Show me again. Show me again. These are the good guys. Remember that. These are the good guys. These are the loving, tolerant ones. These are the ones that care about others. These are the good guys. Yeah. No thanks. They're not the good guys.
Why are we cheering for someone getting shot?
Because
like no matter what political beliefs are, we should not be cheering that someone got shot. He has a family. We do. I value everyone's beliefs, but we should not be cheering as a class that someone got shot. He has a family. He has a family. He has a family. Yes, and who shot them? A transgender person.
Oh, so that's what it is.
Yes.
Oh, so that's what it is. Yeah, that is what it is, dummy.
Yes.
And there she goes. And the white males get white males. Like, don't even. This can be a separate video in itself. These goofballs that want to play this game of like acting like white men are the biggest problem in America. Stop it. Stop it. Look at statistics. Look at crime data and data of mass shootings. Stop it. Do you know what a mass shooting is? Happens every day in all of these big cities. It's not white men. Stop it. Stop it, you brainwashed idiot. Stop it. Don't even get me started on that.
It doesn't matter.
God.
You should not be cheering that someone got shot.
Yeah, I'm not gonna walk on eggshells with these idiots about that either. The race thing, just stop. White men are not the problem in America. Stop it.
Anyways, so the professor has been watching this happen, and he comes up to me, not to the other student, to me, and says, y'all should probably take this outside, and then laughs. I actually looked at him, and I was just like, wow. I grabbed my bag, I walked out, went straight to the dean of students. Actually, I called my mom walking to the dean of students, and I was just like upset. I was so upset. I can't fathom how you think that it's okay to sit in class and laugh and show videos of someone getting shot and laugh at it, and then laugh about the fact that these kids are going to grow up without a dad. Anyway.
Yeah, well, they're scum. You're talking to scum. Just like the professor. He's a scum. He's probably one of these goofy, self-hating white people, an embarrassment, a cringy embarrassment. If you look up cringy in the dictionary, it's probably this professor's face. He's a joke. He's a clown. He's a clown. These people are goofballs. They're indoctrinated. They're mentally unwell. And we'll just jump into the next video.
So I have high schoolers that were in school today when they found out about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And when the class found out, the majority of the students started cheering. And then the teacher said, well, he was kind of a bad guy.
So hold on. This girl's name is Idaho Girl Politics MAGA Mom. This is in Idaho. Idaho is woke too. Are you kidding me? Idaho is woke too. I thought Idaho would be a place that I could escape to from Seattle. Oh my God. Our youth is cooked. Like, they're cooked. The black pill guys, doom and gloomers, I apologize. You guys were right. I apologize. If this is how Idaho is, man, I owe you guys such an apology. We are cooked. Put a fork in it.
I am so angry right now. No teacher should be pushing that type of hate in a classroom. Sitting in a classroom and you are listening to your students cheering when somebody was murdered in a government class, by the way, and that's your message. That is the problem we have here in America. And that is the problem that we have in the school system. I've had issues with this teacher prior to this, and I bit my tongue because she's one of my daughter's favorite teachers, and I didn't want to cause any problems for her. But I need to let my feelings subside, and then I need to decide what I'm going to do. But this is not okay. And that is not what we should be saying to children. The conversation should have been, we don't all have to agree, and you don't have to like what he says, but you should never celebrate somebody's murder because they think differently than you. We no longer live in a society where we can have political conversations and still respect others' views. We are dealing with a radicalization that is so beyond hateful, and it has to stop. This could have been a great teaching moment for a government teacher. Do your research and get grounded in your views so that you know how to debate the things that you stand for. Because being able to coexist with people that don't align with you politically is a necessity in society, and it makes for good governance. I'm hoping tomorrow I have some more clarity on how to approach this situation, but it needs to be addressed. So I have.
Let me be clear. Like I said in the last video, these people don't want to debate. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about data. They don't care about anything. They lie. They literally, these teachers are lying about history. They want to talk about like whitewashing history. It's the opposite. They're rewriting history, retelling history as a lie. As a lie. They are lying about everything. I mean, I've seen these highly educated professors on video saying silly, embarrassing shit. Like, we really need to question mathematics. If 2 + 2 really is 4, or if that's just a construct of something. It's like, what are you saying? Shut up. You sound silly. These people get paid to teach? This is embarrassing. You're questioning if 2 + 2 is 4? What is your IQ? This is embarrassing. And again, let me be clear. The left is the ones that don't want to coexist. They've showed it time and time again with a reaction like this. I don't care how you feel about anybody's political views. You do not laugh and celebrate or watch a disgusting, gut-wrenching video like that and have a reaction that's even remotely humorous or enjoyable. That is sick. These people are not mentally well. There is no more reasoning. There's no more walking on eggshells or trying to find common ground. That's thanks to them. They don't want common ground. They don't want to hear your side of the story. They are the ones that want to rule with an iron fist. They are the ones that have been indoctrinated and they see everything upside down. And you tell me how to feel when you see a reaction like that. We had a candlelight vigil here in Seattle, surprisingly enough, when this happened. And had a pretty big turnout, which was really nice to see. But there was a handful of these clowns that showed up trying to instigate. You tell me how you're supposed to react to that. How do you react to that when people show up and laugh and celebrate and say, I'm glad, I would have done it myself? Real words that were said. How do you react to that? You tell me what they want. Where in that do they want to find common ground or hear your side of the story or coexist? The left is entirely to blame for this BS. They are the ones that will not coexist. And I'm not going to walk on eggshells. I'm not going to be politically correct. I don't give a shit. It's the truth. And enough is enough. There's no more walking on eggshells. There's no more finding common ground. There's no more being nice to these people if it's undeserved. No more. I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone. Let me be clear on that, but I will say this. These are the people that are asking for it. They're the ones wanting it. They think because they're brainwashed, they see themselves, this small fringe group of people sees themselves as some big superpower that's going to rule with an iron fist. And again, I pray nothing bad happens to anyone. But if these people get what they seem to be asking for, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. It's not going to go well for them. It is not. And they think it will. It's going to be ugly, man. And I pray to God people are strong enough to resist that. And I will say this too. This is maybe a topic for another video. I'm a little suspicious of who and what's behind this. But with that being said, no excuse for this reaction. No excuse at all. These are not the good guys. People that act like this are terrible. It's disgusting. You will never catch me acting this way if somebody I disagree with or somebody I even don't like at all has something bad happen like this. It's not going to happen. Anyways, again, please like the video. It offsets the haters. It helps me out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you don't like the content, please unsubscribe because I don't want you here. Till next time, guys, God bless. Be well. I'm out.
Today, I want to state clearly that this is not science fiction or creating speculation. This is about national security, government accountability, and the American people's right to the truth.
This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone.
Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that? The public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there's nothing to worry about here. These mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became the law of the land. And those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years. The documents from military and intelligence personnel behind closed doors admit that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious. They can fly in formation. They're evasive, and they outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours. The public, of course, as I said, has been told something much different. Back in 1989, I reported about a guy named Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at a facility dubbed S4 out in the Nevada desert, very near to Area 51. He said he was part of a reverse engineering program. He said there are alien craft that will be taken apart to figure out how they operated out there. It's been widely reported and suspected that Lockheed Martin is one of the contractors, the defense contractors, that has held this stuff, stored it away in secrecy, and tried to figure out how it works. We had managed to get inside of it. It had no wings, no rotor, no tail. It had no fuel tanks. They didn't know how it flew or how it was operated. It clearly looked like it was aerodynamic. It's not ours. It wasn't ours. We didn't make it. We didn't know who made it and how it was built and how it operated. A lot of this stuff has been moved out of government. Sure. As you know, Rep. Burchett, it's been given to private contractors who stashed it away. They've had it for so long that there's nobody left inside government, or very few, who know where it is.
And they do that to keep us from FOIA, correct?
Yeah, it's to keep it from FOIA. And I think that the contractors who've had this stuff for a very long time set their own standards about who is allowed to know what. And it's a very small group that ever cracks that. There was an incident in October of 1982 over an ICBM base where UFOs popped up, was observed over this base where the missiles are pointed at us, United States. These UFOs perform incredible maneuvers. They split apart, they fuse back together, they'd appear and disappear. And right at the end of this 4-hour period, the launch control codes for the ICBMs lit up. Something entered the correct codes. The missiles were fired up and ready to launch, and they could not shut it down. The Russian officers were panicking. The UFOs they disappeared. The launch control system goes back to normal. Colonel Sokolov and his team came in, took the thing apart, could not figure out what it was. It wasn't a power surge or EMPs or some of the baloney excuses that our country has given for similar events involving our nuclear missiles. They thought it was a message from wherever the UFOs were from. And That's a chilling thing. I mean, we were a couple of seconds away from World War III starting, and the UFOs were responsible for it.
Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base, home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. The incursions began on October 14, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. This event, now known as the Vandenberg Red Square, was referenced by Representative Luna at the first hearing on this topic. Official Air Force records of this event are in possession by Aero and the FBI. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident. Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward.
On the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. The light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion, and I immediately feel static electricity all over my body, and then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell.
And do you think that, in your opinion, that the equilateral triangle was the U.S. government's technology?
I did once upon a time, but knowing what I know now, I'll have to answer that question in a skiff probably.
Well, my next question is, you teased us, so knowing what you know now means what?
I know enough to know that if you want an answer to that question, go to Aero. They have the answer.
Do you think it was a foreign government?
I do not.
Are you scared for your safety?
That's a complicated question. So being here today, if I say the wrong word, technically I can be charged with espionage. Espionage is a death penalty. Whistleblowers have faced it. John Kiriakou, for example. I am not scared for my physical safety in the sense of an agency or company coming to kill me, but I have no job. My career has been tarnished. You know, I'm unemployed, living off of unemployment for the next 3-4 weeks until that's gone. So it's a complicated question.
Have there been stories leaked about your life to try to discredit you in the public eye?
As of now, I don't know.
We know they did that to Mr. Grush.
I am aware. Yes, ma'am.
Even when we're reviewing the budget, we go into a SCIF, we look at DoD budget and the budget of like black box programs, and we don't know what we're looking at because we don't know what these programs are. Is it a way for the government to hide from Congress what's really going on and where the money's going?
In my opinion, absolutely, yes.
Is base systems involved in any way with reverse engineering exploitation of non-human intelligence craft?
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a conversation this SCIF for that, whether I'm legally even allowed to answer that and whether you're even allowed to hear it, sir.
My name is Jeffrey Nusatelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service in the U.S. Air Force. I'm here today because the American people have both the right and the responsibility to know the truth about unidentified aerial phenomenon. That truth remains hidden, classified and silenced by fear, retaliation, stigma, and confusion. Today, we are here to help break that silence. Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base, home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. These were historic launches. These facilities were vital, and they were repeatedly visited by UAP. Each incident was witnessed by multiple personnel, documented, investigated, and reported up the chain of command. We sent information up, but we got no guidance down on how to handle these events. I personally witnessed one of these events and investigated others as they occurred. 6 other service members have provided me with the information that I will share with you today. The incursions began on October 14th, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. This event, now known as the Vandenberg Red Square, was referenced by Representative Luna at the first hearing on this topic. Official Air Force records of this event are in possession by Aero and the FBI. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident. Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. About a week later, another patrol reported a light over the ocean behaving erratically. Believing it might be an unannounced aircraft, they declared an emergency, and an armed response force responded. Before the forces could arrive, the object descended and either landed or hovered on our flight line and then took off again at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward. They were told to keep quiet and think about what they were reporting. After that, things did get quiet until about 2005, when another patrol reported a massive triangular craft larger than a C-130 silently floating over the installation. He watched it for a few minutes. It traveled west and disappeared into the night. And then I had my own encounter, again in 2005. I was off duty, sitting in my backyard with 2 other police officers when we noticed what first appeared to be a satellite in orbit, but it wasn't acting like a satellite. The light was strange, it was pulsing, and then it started to maneuver. It dropped in elevation. At times it would vanish from view and reappear in a different location in the sky. And eventually it reappeared 200 feet over my house. It was a 30-foot diameter sphere of light. My friends and I watched it for a moment, and then it gently accelerated and traveled up and disappeared into the stars. These events profoundly changed my life and the lives of my friends. We stand at a pivotal moment in history. The question is no longer whether these events are real, but whether we have the courage to face them. True leadership requires vision, a willingness to confront the unknown with transparency and resolve. So I ask the Congress to help we the people enact this vision. There are 3 goals. Fund independent research and treat UAP study with the same seriousness as we would any other scientific field. 2, end secrecy and overclassification. Transparency is the foundation of truth. Without it, witnesses like us are dismissed. 3, protect the witnesses. Many stay silent out of fear for their careers, reputations, and the safety of their families. Protect them, and you will embolden others to join this cause. These phenomena challenge our deepest assumptions about reality, consciousness, and our place in the universe. Exploring them can unlock transformative breakthroughs in technology, biology, and human understanding. Let this be the moment when America chooses courage over fear, transparency over secrecy, and progress over stagnation.
Today, I want to state clearly that this is not science fiction or creating speculation.
All right, guys. So the time of this video, I just got off work. In fact, let me show you. I'm joking, man. I ain't playing. Got the gloves in the back pocket. Got the work boots on. Like, I'm not playing, man, when I say that. Just got off work, but a few of you guys have sent me these videos to check out. And I want to get into this a little more to show you guys exactly what I was so frustrated about in my last video with these loving, accepting leftists, their behavior. Tons of thumbs down, but thankfully, a lot of you did support me and give a thumbs up as well to offset it. And I got some new subscribers, which is good. But yeah, I need you guys' help dropping a thumbs up because it offsets the thumbs down, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let's get into this disgusting, disgusting display of behavior from these loving, caring, accepting leftists.
So Charlie Kirk
right off the bat, the hill that will die on the pro-life abortion. You trashy. Right off the bat, the hill they're willing to die on the pro-life abortion. You trashy, gross women are just so mad that someone's going to question that disgusting, disgusting thing you love to do so much. But look at this girl. I mean, come on, look at that. With a body like that, with flabby arms like that, I don't think she needs to worry too much about reproducing. Not many men are going to be interested in that. Blech. Carry on. Look, I'm watching it, laughing. They're snickering. They're snickering. That girl reaching, show me again, show me again. These are the good guys. Remember that. These are the good guys. These are the loving, tolerant ones. These are the ones that care about others. These are the good guys. Yeah, no thanks. They're not the good guys.
Why are we cheering for someone getting shot?
Because
like, no matter what political beliefs are, we should not be cheering that someone got shot. He has a family.
And that girl was on point. And again, I'm just going to make this clear. I'm neither a right nor am I a left. Okay, I'm neutral. Go on, teach away. I'm neutral, right? Now, the fact that, he makes a valid point, the party that preaches, for love and acceptance and all that, the empathy party, decides to show no empathy, whatever happened to the phrase kill them with kindness? Jesus Christ will say, I'm not a religious person. Jesus Christ was a living, breathing human that expressed his beliefs way back then, before he was crucified. Love your enemies. Doesn't mean you have to interact with them. Doesn't mean you have to be their buddies. But they preach love and acceptance. And he died for his beliefs as well. And some will say, Charlie Kirk also died for his beliefs, regarding the Second Amendment. And yeah, I was just chatting with my housemate about, you know, the same exact thing. And let's see what some of the. So yeah, I mean, this is basically not only turning the right versus the left, it's also dividing the people amongst, MAGA. And I wonder how people in my own family are reacting because, oh God, could Israel really? Now they're going to see all the conspiracy theories. And I don't really like talking, conspiracy theories, especially when we don't even know all the facts. We know nothing about the shooter other than a couple of photos that they, believe is, the shooter. You can find those. It's just like the Luigi Mangione incident. 2 photos that look very grainy at best. And still no suspect. And in fact, no fucking reward money is being offered. Just like I said earlier, no reward money is being offered as of yet. So that's kind of telling me that they may not even want to fucking catch the guy. In fact, let me see. Let me see what I can find about Charlie Kirk pushing for release of the Epstein file. Charlie Kirk. Epstein reaction. Let's see what he says about that. One month ago, police search for suspect. No, they don't. They don't want to catch him. If they wanted to catch him, they would have caught him by now. Now, of course, South Park, they're going to do their own thing. But, we all know South Park just loves to poke fun at shit. And they've been doing that for decades. So we're going to leave that one alone. And that's from his official channel.
Okay, everybody, we're here at the Bitcoin.com studio. That is the Bitcoin.com. And NBC News thought they have their moment. It is the media. They want nothing more than to be able to tie this to Donald Trump. They bring all of these Epstein victims, one after the other, and they have their big moment. The media is just waiting for a metaphorical kill shot on Donald Trump. Amazingly, of all the questions they could ask, this is the one. But in some ways, I'm kind of glad they asked it. In kind of a sick and twisted way. I'm glad they did. I'm glad they were able to air it out because this was a swing and a miss and a media loss right here. And this kind of
powered by rainbows.
Hi, I'm Professor Pride. Yesterday, a professional sniper killed the neo-Nazi Charlie Kirk. He and I disagreed on many things, and he even called for my death on multiple occasions. But like many of you this week, I've struggled figuring out how to both condemn political violence of any kind, while at the same time not feeling anything for Charlie. Let me be clear, his wife and child were at the event yesterday too, and our hearts go out to them. No family deserves this sort of tragedy. But what happened doesn't suddenly make Charlie a good person. It doesn't rewrite history. It's never okay to celebrate, but it is okay to not feel anything at all.
Okay, so at least he was right in that never okay to celebrate, so. Let's see what this one actually says.
In today's breaking story, you're about to watch a video that caught the Charlie Kirk shooter making a run for it. That's right. Every day, the FBI and the police narrow in on Charlie Kirk's assassin. How's it going, everybody? Hunter Avalone here with Occupy Democrats. Welcome back to another video. By now,
This has just happened. I've been looking. I haven't seen anything that's confirmed.
Whoa.
Murder for having a different opinion from somebody else.
Yeah.
Different ideology from somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Z shows a man dressed in all black walking through a residential neighborhood in Orem, Utah. He appears to be hobbling, and investigators believe that unusual gait may be the result of concealing a bolt-action rifle under his clothing, a thing at the campus, sprinting through a backyard. Seemingly in this video is the same individual who carried out the attack. The FBI believes these.
There's a saying in the film and video production, and clearly that order came from Bondi and Trump. So, yep, good thing the racists got involved and fired fully qualified people who are great at their job. And what about Bag Boy? He must be jumping in to make sure the investigation runs smoothly. I mean, you have to remember, this guy has amassed an enormous amount of knowledge.
What's your opinion on the phase 1 release of the Epstein files? Do you think it was more of a PR stunt with Pam Bondi because she just got into office? What do you think is actually going on? And do you think that she genuinely has the files or people are destroying them?
Well, I think they got to make this right. I mean,
Right.
we as the American people deserve to have every Epstein file released with no redactions whatsoever, period. They got to make it right. And we, the American people, ran on transparency. We deserve to see the entire client list. Every document the government has regarding the Epstein files, we, the American people, should have on an easy to access website immediately in a very, very quick fashion. I'm pushing for that both privately and publicly, just so you know. Secondly, there probably are a lot of destroyed documents. I think that's probably the issue.
If you enjoyed that, then like and subscribe for daily thought-provoking content.
All right, I'm going to cap it for now. Some of us have to go to work tomorrow. Anyhow, I'll talk to you.